Great, great, great. Okay. I don't know. I have a lot of things I was thinking about. I wanted to ask as well, but I'm not going to start with mine. I'm going to just open up. And if you have a question that you would like to ask, just raise your hand. We'll try to scan through. There are several pages of people here. So we'll try to catch the hands as they go up. And we just ask, because there are many people, that if you have questions or if you have comments, then please make them as brief as possible so we'd have a chance to hear the responses. Okay, the first one that I saw, and that doesn't mean it is the first one, is Gurunan.
Hello, thank you very much. The question that I put in the chat was about the spiritual path that I've been on, and that we got property that was ancestral Hopi lands, and they released it to our group because they said in their prophecies, spiritual people dressed all in white would come to that land to help usher in the age of Aquarius. I was just wondering if you had any awareness. You're in that part of the country, but I don't know how close really to Espanola, New Mexico, or the Hopis, if you had any awareness of that.
I can't speak specifically. Like I said, I have a few that I've been allowed to speak about. I don't have all the prophecies of the Hopi people, and I don't want to speak for them on their prophecies because I haven't been given that permission. But I do know that whole area, Espanola of New Mexico, because I am originally from New Mexico. There was Hopi people there. There was also Apache people as well. And so there was a lot of intermixing in that area. And that area actually is near for where Victorio and my people are from. And Victorio, the chief, also talked about this great peace that we would have. And he ended up getting killed in a battle with the federal government. But Victorio was a man of peace. And he always said, the Creator put us as people. All people were placed in a certain area for them to take care of the land and for the land to take care of the people. And it was this relationship. And, of course, that whole area, there's mining and there's a lot of things that happen. And then there's a lot of migration of people that came in and wanted to eradicate us for the mining purposes. But I do know Espanola. I do know those areas, and those areas are very powerful, very spiritual to my people as Apache.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Winnie, and then Minu.
Okay, thank you for a beautiful presentation. A number of years ago, and I think it must have been 30 to 40 years ago, I ran across the book Black Elk Speaks. And his visions really impressed me at that time. In fact, I even incorporated it into a thing that we did at Scout Camp with the girls. I don't remember a lot of the details. Can you speak at all to that particular area of prophecy of Black Elk?
Yes, I mentioned it in the beginning, but the one that I talked about is at that time, his people were plagued with famine, sickness, and there's war. They lost that his people would lose their heart, and the sacred hoop, meaning the unity, would be broken. But he saw a vision of his people that after 7 generations, this great circle, this humanity would be united again, and he saw that it would be a relative that would bring wisdom and peace from the east, and he would bring light to this darkness. And that's what he was talking about, the great uniter of what we've been told by some of their Baha'is from the Lakota people, that it was about the coming of Baha'u'llah, the coming of the great uniter, the bringer of peace.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Manu?
Yes, I would like to thank Roman. That was a great, wonderful presentation. I have not heard like this before. And I'm sure that there are a lot of people who would love to hear what you have to say. And besides that, you educated us about the culture of Indigenous people, which we had no other way. I myself, I'm telling you, no other way to learn about it. That was very informative and very helpful. My question is that about these prophecies in different areas, in different regions, and between different people of Indigenous people, are there is there only one prophet who prophesies all these, or different prophets, and in one time or in different time? I would like to know more about that, the religion of these people, and that comes to this prophecy.
I can first of all thank you so much for your kind words and for your question. I appreciate you. I saw you yesterday as well, so thank you for returning today. The prophecies, again, I'm gonna speak from my people. The prophecies that were given spoke of one specific time, and that is that time of now, of this destruction. But they also spoke of a great uniter. And I think all the prophets, the major world's religions, and all indigenous prophecies spoke of the coming of Baha'u'llah, the great uniter. Because as indigenous peoples, we considered all people one. We see each other as one people. All humanity is related simply by being human. But not only are we related by being human, but we're also related and have the same energy force and share the same circle of nature and the animals and everything else. So we see everything as one big circle. And something happens in the circle, then it throws the kilter of life off. But from what I understand, all indigenous prophecies spoke of different things, but they spoke specifically of the coming of Baha'u'llah, this time of the great uniter.
Yeah, my question was about the person who prophesied these things that will happen. Are there different people doing this, or just one person doing this? And was it in a certain time, like many years ago, or it goes through generation to generation that this kind of prophecies goes?
I apologize. I misunderstood your question. So the question. In our creation stories, there was all of these prophecies and all of these stories that were given to us at that time, and they were given to certain families or certain medicine men or medicine women to hold those stories. And so there was a lineage of people that were holding those stories and these prophecies that were given to the people. But it was given by the Creator at the time of creation for indigenous peoples. And then it continued orally through our oral traditions all the way through. And there are certain people during the creation stories that gave those. Like for my people, it was a woman. It was a white painted woman that gave those stories and all of that things to the Apache people. And I can't speak for other ones, but I can speak for the Apaches. It was, we look kind of at her as the prophet of the foretelling of all of our prophecies.
Great. Thank you. I wanted to just interject one thing, Roman. I see we have other hands here, Ray. I wondered if, like, it's so wonderful to hear the prophecies and how they relate to where we are today. I wonder if you have any suggestions, anything you would like to say. I mean, that to people here that not only must we understand prophecy, and many people will accept it and some will not, but like, what can people do what can they do? In addition to hearing about it, what do you see as maybe some things, some actions that people can take to help this process? I mean, you laid out to us really what the future holds, and that's certainly in the thing, but you also said that people have choices. So I wonder if you would speak to that a bit also about what can people do? I mean, even people here on this forum today, people who are here, but what can we do, to understand what the prophecies meant as far as actions today in 2022?
So I would say that was a great question, Charles. Thank you. Yeah, bringing prophecies to action. One of the things that I would suggest is, one, educating yourselves on not the Hollywood movies, and don't let those be your guiding lights. Go out, talk to indigenous people, listen to what we've gone through, because it is like my brother was talking about yesterday, it is a shared humanity, but we have a voice, and we can't see indigenous people or always want to see indigenous peoples in the 1800s, with the mascots and all of these things that are happening now. You're seeing all of this energy from our indigenous women who let me just say, are motherly, right? They're the ones that know when it's time to stop something, and when they also at the drop of a hat can become a warrior. You can mess with the papa bear, but don't mess with the mama bear. You know what I mean? Because that's a whole different species, is a mama bear. And I mean that with the utmost respect, because that mother bear knows when to be a warrior, just like a human does, knows when to be a warrior, but knows when to be and stop and be a mom, right? But they're also the ones that can deal with those spiritual and physical, because the carrier of the baby and all of those things. And so, kind of going back, is what I was talking about is the women are leading this charge. And what I would say is, get involved, become an ally. If you want to teach something or learn something, you don't go in by shoving things down our mouths, right? Don't go and expect that you're going to teach something to a people that have been suppressed for years and years and years. If you're going to do that, please step aside and watch from the outside. But if you're ready and willing to get in the trenches with us and fight for justice and fight for equality and fight for our voice, then we welcome you as an ally to come in. Allow us to be the voice and to be directing you to help. And so one of the things my brother talked about yesterday was, hey, get to know other people. Make yourselves uncomfortable. And we all have to make each other uncomfortable, and not in a negative way, but we have to do it in a positive way, that we can break our cycle of just being comfortable. Because if you're being comfortable, there is no change. You're not helping. You're just status quo and just living the life, and it's all good and gravy. But when you step out of that comfort zone, now you're impacting and changing lives. Mm-hmm. And so what I would suggest is, go to some of these nonprofits, go to some of these indigenous organizations that are out there. Usually every major city has a Indian center. And they have connections there that you can go and help volunteer. Go learn about indigenous peoples so that you can be an ally and be welcomed in. Don't go in with your preconceived notions, because then you will be asked to leave. Mm-hmm. You can't just go to the reservation for a weekend and decide that you're going to put up a booth and give out water. What does that do? You're not doing anything, right? You can't go and try to learn on a reservation or in the urban areas. I'm sorry, in the urban areas, and dictate, right? But be an ally. See what's happening, because there's a lot of things happening in Indian country for the positive, in fighting against mascots, in pushing our voices and showing that, one, we're still here. Because I was at a major university performing with my late dad, and they told him, I thought you guys were all dead. This was a professor at a major university. No, we're not. And no, we don't look like the stereotypical Indian in Hollywood movies, so you may not even know that somebody's indigenous. So educate yourselves and never go up to somebody and go, oh, you don't look Indian, right? That's one of the biggest things. So you got to stop with a lot of those types of words, because you do that, and it's like instantly as an indigenous person, we put up a wall. We're done with you. Our conversation's over. I'm sorry I didn't fulfill your expectation of what an Indian is supposed to look like, right? So stop, pull all of those images out, and let's start all over. Let's start as allies. Let's start as people. Let's start as being friends. Those are the things I would say.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much for doing that, Roman. Appreciate it. Yes, Ray.
Thank you, Charles, for recognizing me. And hi, Roman. Nice to meet you. Wonderful presentation. I too am from Native American background and live in the Northern California area, original land of the Nacian. If I could just piggyback on a couple of your questions and answers. I think it was Minu who talked about the prophets, and were there different prophets in different times, or were there just one prophet and one message? And I love your answer. I agree with that 100%. But I wanted to throw out as an example a few different prophets that I'm aware of. Quetzalcoatl being one that I think of, who spoke of the prophecy of the 9 hells and 13 heavens. Bacal Volten, who's a Mayan prophet, whose prophecy was based on this 5,000-year cycle that we just ended in 2012. And then we spoke of Black Elk, and all of those prophets are from different times, and kind of in the piggyback in your answer to Menu, if I can say that respectfully. And then real quick, lastly, what can we do? Well, in your video, it did not show a lot of examples of modern life. I think I saw one flash of a major metropolitan city. Most of it was about our partnership and interrelatedness with Mother Earth. And not that we can go all the way back, we can't go from one extreme to the other. But I would encourage what most of us can do today, tomorrow, when we end this call, as in a very simplistic way, is orientate ourselves to the 4 directions. That's something as simple as just knowing east, west, south, north in your own home, and just be aware of it. The moon is a very important way to reorientate ourselves back into the earth, if you will, the simplicity of it. In fact, there's calendars that coordinate our time and our frequency with the moon. The Baha'is in particular have made the movement to speak the calendar change. No one else in the world has really done that out of respect to the Gregorian calendar that the world now lives on, that is artificial and not in sync with nature. And then, you just said, you were just speaking to being uncomfortable. I love that. Because we live in America, and what has occurred on this continent, particularly of the red people, is a very uncomfortable conversation to have in a lot of ways with our current society, in particularly with white people. It almost is kind of like you're being insulting if you speak to these truths and force recognition of it. But I think that's one of the areas that and it is occurring. I am grateful to be part of a community, one of the Baha'i communities here in my area that, we have racial healing classes, if you will. And it gets very uncomfortable in those meetings. But a lot of growth we've seen in our community, a lot of openness. And so I'll just end there saying those are a few things that came to my mind that I wanted to share with you. Thank you.
Thank you for that insight. And you're right. We have to be uncomfortable. We have to push. Now, I'm not saying at all when I state this that we're go to blame white people, right? No. I'm not. It wasn't them. It wasn't them. It was their ancestors who created this. But let's be realistic in knowing that how this is created and why a lot of the things in America were not created and benefit for people of color, right? So let's start there. I'm not blaming the people that are here now, and that should never occur. And myself as an Indigenous person, I've already come to the realization that I'll never get an apology, nor do I care to get an apology. Right? At this point in time, it's irrelevant. Was it them that created it? No. But the fact of the matter is the system is working the way it was intended to work. Some of us say the system is broken. I say the system is working as is intended to work. And so we have to be careful and be real and understand that. And yeah, when we go to have these discussions, they're going to get really uncomfortable. But that's the only way that change is going to happen. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank both of you for those comments. And it seems like we are now really into the now, like what can we do? What can we do to bring about change? What are some daily practices that we can put into effect? I noticed also today, Roman, and also yesterday, when Micah was talking, we talked about really the role that Indigenous people have to play, and particularly Indigenous people and people of African descent in helping with this process. And I was wondering if you had any thoughts about where we are in that level. I mean, can we do things to help these forces to become stronger, to become more united in what we're doing? I just wonder if you had any thought about that, and then we have a couple more questions.
Absolutely. So yesterday, my brother talked about a situation where Abdu'l-Baha came to this dinner, and a gentleman of African descent, African American Baha'i, was not at the seat and at the table and was not asked to be there. And what I look at that situation and I say, that's what we have to be doing. We cannot be okay with going to a discussion on something or going to anything and not have a seat at the table for the people in which we need to have there. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. We have to, if we have our people of significance and we have influence and we have, I'm going to put this in quotations, power in certain arenas, then we are obligated and should be obligated to bring those people to the table. I've told my kids, you're going to be told that you're not welcome. You're going to be, oh, we didn't have a seat for you here. I always tell my kids, you bring your own seat. You bring your own seat and you tell people to move over because I have a voice and I should be seated at this table. And so that's what I tell all people. We have a seat and are obligated to have a seat at every table. And I don't just mean me as an Indigenous person, but I mean we all. And for the longest time, people of color have not been asked to come to the table. And so it's the responsibility for those people that are at the table to go, time out. This cannot go on until we bring in representatives of people of color to the table. And I think that is where we need to, what needs to start to begin, right? We need to have voices. We need to have our allies help, because we can't do it alone. The system is working as it's intended to work, and it's putting a lot of people, especially people of color, out to the side. And so when we're talking within the Baha'i Faith or outside of the Baha'i Faith or anything else, remember that in the prophecies of the Baha'i Faith, there's two races that they speak of specifically, that Abdu'l-Baha speaks of specifically: the African American people and the Native American people and the people of the Americas. We have to have a seat. And I think we've got it a little bit mixed up there. Right. So
thank you. Thank you so much, Roman. Could we also have a question from Leela? And sorry, and please excuse me if I'm pronouncing the names incorrectly. But
no, it's totally fine, Layla. Thank you so
Layla,
much. It's
okay.
such a wonderful program, and just Roman's energy is just like wow. It's just like it reaches out through the Zoom and affected me in the most positive way. I would like to ask Roman, would you be able to? I know you shared like one of them, what you tell your kids, right? Like that's one, but having these difficult conversations and uncomfortable conversation and making ourselves uncomfortable and making room in the middle of people who are comfortable in order to make them uncomfortable as ourselves. How do you start? Can you share some of the examples? So like how one that was like a one or two method that worked, and and it didn't bring about disunity, right? Conflict, because these are definitely downright revolutionary ideas, and people forever have used this. This is how we've done it. This is how in the past. This is how, I don't know, 1,000 years ago. I don't know, why would we use an expired medicine? Like, would we do that? No. Like, we go get a new medicine. So, which is so amazing, but it is out there, and you have conversation with people and they're like, well, and then you can already see this closed tunnel, right? So can you please share like some of the things that worked with you involved? How did you break that barrier without creating a I'm going to call it a positive conflict, I guess, creating a positive conflict, but not a negative, like disunity fight where people walk away. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So thank you for your question. That's a great question. And thank you for allowing me to be part of your Sunday afternoon. And that goes for everyone here, not just one. So as Indigenous people, I talked about earlier, we are people of prayer, right? And so that is instilled in us from a young age. And so the first thing that I would say is pray, meditate, right? Get centered. You don't go at somebody with anger. And let me rewind, because I want you to understand this whole concept of prayer. When our warriors would go to war, there was a whole ceremony of prayers that would happen before they would leave, not only for their return and their family and to protect them, but it was also for the protection of our enemy, so that both sides could be protected. And so that is the prayer. And that's what we did as Indigenous people. We prayed for our own, but we also prayed for the opposing side. And so, because they too have family, they too are human, and a loss of one could affect that entire society, right? Just like it would for us. And so when the warrior would come back, or the warriors would come back, then there was another, not a celebration, but there was another ceremony, and it included prayer, one, to help get the energy of war off of them, and to ask for forgiveness for any lives that were taken. And so that's what I'm talking about. You start with prayer. You start with grounding yourself and getting into this spiritual state, this state of equalness, the state of love. If you go into this adversarial situation in a state of balance and in a state of love, then you have already conquered. You have already won, no matter what happens, if you stay there. Now, that's the key, to stay there, not get agitated, just stay. And if you present yourself in a way of love, then it conquers it all. There's nothing that love can't break. If you go in as an adversary and two bulls are going at it, well, what's going to happen? Somebody's going to get hurt. Somebody's going to get, nothing is ever achieved. So that's what I always say. I always say, yeah, I get angry, but stay in balance, stay centered, and know why you're there. You're there with love, whatever that may be. The other thing I tell myself and my kids also is be a blade of grass in the wind. You're already grounded, you're already rooted. And when bad things happen or troubles are happening, you just bend, but you never break. So whatever those troubles are, those winds, those high winds, you just bend. So just be a blade of grass of love in any situation, and you'll be okay. The other thing I say, and my wife also reminds me to do this, is have no expectations. Just let what will be, and just let it be. Because when you have expectations, then you get hurt. So when you open up a door for somebody and they don't say thank you, that's on them. That's not on you. You did your part, right? So just those little things, staying centered, balanced, and go in with prayer and love.
Thank you so much, Roman. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm so sorry. I just wanted to say I never knew about the prayer to wash off the war, and I never knew about the prayer for their enemy. Very interesting. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for the question. Let's go to Dorcas. We don't have much time left, so this may have to be the last one.
Well, thank you. I'd like to say that I really appreciate today and yesterday with the two brothers. It's been really educational. I don't have a question, but a statement, and I offered this statement in love. As Baha'is, we believe that the prophetic cycle ended with the Prophet Muhammad. I at times hear Baha'is say that Baha'u'llah is the prophet founder of the Baha'i Faith. And I would like to challenge a Baha'i to find where the House of Justice calls Baha'u'llah a prophet. Baha'u'llah is not a prophet. He's the fulfillment of prophecy. Well, the Bab was the fulfillment of the prophetic cycle. But I just, that's something that I've been thinking about a lot. I don't know where that phrase came from, but I think as Baha'is, we should not say that Baha'u'llah is a prophet founder of the Baha'i Faith. And I offer that in love. Thank you very much.
Taken in that way. Thank you.
Thanks, Dorcas. The one thing that you were saying when we started, and in the video as well, it was talking about the four and the symbol of the four people who groups or whatever denomination you want to call that, and they went in different directions around the world, and they had all of these qualities, unique things that they had to study and to become a part of. And it's all part of the picture. And that now they are coming back together. And it's so interesting when I think about that now, how we're at that point, as you've just said, Roman, over and over, we're at that point to try to understand that connection. And so what we have heard today with the questions and the explanations that have been given is that how do we carry on those conversations? And I think it was wonderful that those points that you just listed, look addressing the difficulties that we have in being in one place even, because the forces of negativity around the globe have made these four corners to become proudful and all kinds of things rather than to appreciate the beauty of that. And so I think it's wonderful that that there have been explanations about what can we do. Really, it's about what can we do. But I just wanted to say that we appreciate what Michael did yesterday and what Roman did today in really helping us to become more centered, with us trying to understand the place we are in development for the development of unity and oneness around the globe right now. And we know that the divisive elements are busy at work, talking about how different we are and really glorifying those differences and putting categories and value on those kinds of things. And so what they both have told us is that that's not our true reality. That's not our true reality. And so we have to work at understanding that reality and to making us all as a people on this planet, in this country, conscious of our spiritual worth. And that's our true reality. So we are so grateful to you, Roman, for doing that, and also to Michael, who came yesterday. We will, I just wanted to also say that this program, Oneness Chat, will have other programs that are going on that will again focus on racial justice and unity. If you want more information about Partners in Racial Justice, please go also to the website, partnersinracialjustice.org, and you can understand those things. And you can also get a newsletter to know about future programs. And definitely, as far as Partners in Racial Justice goes, you will certainly see Roman and Michael again as part of what we're doing, because the message that they're bringing is very applicable, it's current, it's part of really our spiritual heritage and what we have to give to make this world as is intended. So I want to just end with asking Michael and then also and Roman, if you guys have anything that you would like to close with to say to people here, I want to allow you time to do that.
I just want to say thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be part of your weekend and sharing space with you today. One thing I just want to say is, if you do everything with love, you will conquer a lot and get a lot. You will be able to do a lot in your life.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you.
Michael, you had something, please.
Also, sincere thank you to Dr. Bullock and the others for your assistance, support, and encouragement, and allowing both of us to take part this weekend, and also to those of you who spent the weekend with us. We greatly appreciate it. It's time, as Roman stated. Let's get to work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you all for what you're doing. Your presence here means that this is where your hearts are. And as both Michael and Roman have been telling us, it's about the work, isn't it? It's about the work. Anything that we are privileged to learn, and we have any new insights about what we can do in service is for a purpose. And that's to use it and to serve humanity, to let us realize that we are one human race. Thank you both, and thank all of you for coming, being with us today. We appreciate it and love all of you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.